Today we're going to be talking about things over in Europe. There is some concerning news and things going on regarding budgets and salary caps and the payment of players overall that is impacting both the LFL and obviously it is impacting the LEC as well. I think overall it is a little bit concerning, but overall there could be some positives and some good sides to it as well. So I did want to talk about this report from Sheep Esports yesterday. LEC Wooloo on the case here saying sources LFL teams haven't exceeded a spending limit of $250K yearly this offseason. So obviously, we need to dive into this and figure out what is going on. LFL organizations limited their spendings at $250K for the LFL in 2025. Over recent weeks, LFL teams have been finalizing their rosters for the 2025 season, with Game Ward completing its lineup yesterday. 9 out of 10 teams now have their starting rosters in place, as reflected in the transfer hub. This offseason saw the implementation of a notable change that has significantly influenced roster construction. Ahead of the roster building period, discussions took place between the teams and Webedia, which I believe is like the creator or something to do with the leadership of the LFL, to introduce a salary cap in the LFL. This measure, advocated by several parties involved, aims to control spending and promote sustainability within the LFL and the broader esports ecosystem. Now, this is something that I think people have talked about and thought about for many, many, many years all over the world, especially, I'm mostly thinking like back a couple years ago in the LCS. This was an idea that was thrown around all the time because so many organizations were becoming unsustainable. So many people were complaining about, one, how insane LCS salaries were and how LCS was stealing, all the Korean players and all the European players and all that stuff, but also how much money orgs were having to spend. And yes, a lot of orgs were getting, insane investments and insane funding from a lot of people, but the LCS viewership and the amount of revenue and money that esports organizations and LCS teams could make just never made sense for the amounts of money that they were spending. Obviously, they were promising, hey, this insane growth, we're going to be profitable one day, whatever. But so many people were like, hey, why don't we just introduce a salary cap? Why don't we just put a hard cap on these salaries to make this all make sense for everybody? And obviously, I don't know why that never happened. I'm sure, people talked about different laws and rules and regulations, but also some of the teams that were spending the big money to get the players and win championships and do all that stuff, I'm sure, they didn't necessarily want to do it. And then certain teams didn't even want to spend a certain amount of money in the first place. So I don't know. It was always this weird thing, but we've heard talk of salary caps in Europe, in Korea, and fans been suggesting it as an idea for the LCS for a long time now. Now, obviously, that's not going to be popular for players, seeing your salaries go down, your budgets go down, all that stuff. But I do think ultimately, at the end of the day, if players are making salaries that are unsustainable and are making salaries that they're not even bringing back in revenue, that never makes sense, and that's not going to last anyway. So why not at least try to create some sustainability and make sense? If we want to make more money, then we need to make more money. The league needs to make more money. The teams need to make more money, all that stuff. So also at the same time, I do think there can be some positive sides of like salary caps and things like this. Not only does it make the organizations more willing to actually, like good organizations willing to actually come into the league, because if it makes sound financial sense and sustainable sense, you could get good businesses and good business people in, because something that doesn't make financial sense is going to obviously negate a lot of those people, but it also could incentivize and promote players having to do more things for their brand and the branding and the entertainment side of things. One, doing more content, but also creating content themselves, like streaming and YouTube and all that stuff. Like a lot of people say, we used to see with a lot of top players, Bjergsen used to be an insane streamer when he would stream. Doublelift was an absolutely massive streamer. Sneaky back in the day. Guys in Europe like Yankos. It seems like we don't have as many streaming personalities and content creators and stuff like that as we much used to. Obviously, we want the focal point to be on players playing the game and performing their best, but also this is a business at the end of the day, and we need to grow the fan base and grow the audience and make it make sense. So I don't know. There's a lot of different things going on there, but back to this. Initially, a cap of 300,000 euros per year was considered, but this was later adjusted to 250,000. Sources who provided this information to Sheep Esports clarified that the cap applies solely to the 5 players on each LFL roster, not including additional staff, like the coaching staff, any additional coaches, stuff like that. So you can still spend more than that to get your coaches and everything. So that is definitely interesting. The impact this has had on roster construction is the salary cap has led to most LFL player salaries for 2025 falling within the range of 25,000 euros to 50,000 euros. Now, obviously, euros, the conversion to dollars, the dollar amount's going to be a little bit higher. I think 50,000 euros is like $55,000 or something like that. But either way, obviously, these are not insane salaries. And I know a lot of people have been like, oh, this is not fair. These players can't live off this amount of money, whatever. But also at the same time, you do have to keep in mind that this is a second-tier division. And I know in at least the United States and stuff, it's been a huge, thing trying to figure out a way to make a sustainable second division in a lot of our leagues and find a way to make, make the players players be able to make livable salaries and wages and stuff. And some leagues are starting to figure that out, but that is very, very tough. And especially, like I said, if the money's not there, the viewership isn't there, the dollars aren't there. Sometimes second division athletes do have to grind and get a second job or figure out other ways to make money. So the salaries aren't always super attractive in second division leagues. That's just the reality of things. Obviously, we wish it was different. We wish it wasn't that way. But yes, obviously the players who are getting the 50K amounts, they're hopefully going to be doing pretty okay. Obviously, it's also going to depend on things like what their housing situation is, and if food is being provided and stuff like that for them. Because if you're getting housing and food paid for, 50K is maybe a more decent salary than if you still had to pay for everything on top of 50K. And of course, also you want them to not be stressed out. You want them to not be worried about money. You want them to be able to grind and compete and train and practice and all that stuff. But yeah, players making on the lower side of that 25,000, that would be obviously pretty difficult. But like I said, that is also the reality of being a tier 2 athlete or esports athlete or whatever. You might have to figure out other ways to make money. You might have to do other things, whether that's coaching or content creation or just even like a part-time job or something like that, or a job in the off season. I don't know. Obviously, that's not ideal, but that is the reality that I think a lot of tier 2 athletes face all around the world. It's not like we're not talking about the LEC teams here or anything like that making 25,000. We're talking about LFL. Like I said, I would love if the players could make more money, and they did make money and all that stuff, but whatever. Now, also at the end of the day, obviously this will, I think, ultimately push some players away from, playing in the LFL or playing in tier 2s or whatever. Maybe it'll push them to coaching. Maybe it'll push them to getting in a different job altogether. Maybe a $30,000 salary or whatever is not worth it to them. And obviously that is bad news for Europe and the LEC at the end of the day, because this does hurt their player development system. Because obviously if they are losing players, that is not going to be a good thing overall. That's going to make, the talent pool weaker. That's going to make players maybe less motivated or less excited to even go down to the tier 2s or figure things out. It is going to push players out, whether it's to North America, South America now with the LTAS going on, or like I said, just doing other things entirely. So yes, this is not directly affecting the LEC per se and what we're talking about, but obviously the LFL is that main ERL, that main European Development League. So this is going to ultimately impact probably the development of some players. Even if it doesn't mean that the top talent isn't still going to be in the ERL, still the players they're playing against and the guys they're practicing against all the time, that's still the guys that they are getting better against and stuff like that. So if their competition is weaker, that's still worse for their development overall. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. While financial considerations remain relevant, the cap has shifted emphasis to other aspects in roster negotiations. Factors such as gaming houses, coaching staff, and team rosters became crucial in player decisions when choosing between teams. Additionally, academies with LEC teams gained a notable advantage as the opportunity for promotion of the main team became a more significant draw in a more balanced salary landscape. So that's a big thing as well. This also, with the salary cap coming in, could maybe make more LEC teams think about having a direct academy team, because if it is going to be cheaper or more financially feasible or whatever, that could bring them in. But also if it makes it easier to get players, because players want to go to a team that's actually an academy team so they have a chance to promote so they can make more money, that could be interesting as well. The new salary cap affected the spending of several teams. Sources indicates that some organizations has previously exceeded the $250,000 limit, while others operated below it, experiencing no direct impact. Team BDS Academy, one of the organizations reportedly above the cap last year, has notably reduced its budget for 2025. As a result, the LFL is expected to be more balanced in 2025 with top talent spread across the league rather than concentrate on one roster. We'll have to see if that is, more exciting for fans or less exciting for fans or whatever. I don't know. Sometimes super teams are fun, but sometimes a more competitive landscape is fun as well. A similar salary cap was introduced in the LEC last year. This is also where the bad news for the LEC kicks in a little bit, where according to a report from Blix.gg, the cap was set at $2 million annually. Sources suggest this limit may decrease further in the future. So again, yes, this is us just talking about the ERLs and a salary cap coming in and salaries going down, but this is something that could potentially be impacting the LEC as well, and we could see salaries continue to drop in the future for them. I know we've talked about how as certain players have, other endeavors, whether it be coaching or, a guy like Yankos where he has this massive streaming career and all this stuff, as salaries go down, playing in the LEC is actually going to be less attractive to them because Yankos has already talked about, as he's played on, bad teams or less popular teams or whatever, it has impacted his stream, and obviously that does impact his livelihood as well. So, some of these players are used to the money they're making 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. They might just be less incentivized to play for these reduced salaries every other year. Think about yourself. How many of you would want to, continue and do the same job every single year if you're making less and less money every single year, at some point you might look for other opportunities or consider other things. I don't know. But either way, like I said, obviously this does suck for some of the players who are going to be making less money, all that stuff. But ultimately, it could be some good news for the overall sustainability of things. But obviously, it's not necessarily what players want to hear when it's their, paychecks we're talking about. So I don't know. Overall, I think some concerning news could affect the overall development and players in the Europe overall. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with this. I don't know. Pretty much it was this video today, guys. Hopefully catch you in the next one. Until then, peace. Everything we are doing here at Sheep Esports for the rest of 2024 is powered by Holy. This is an awesome company that makes great tasting energy drinks that also just so happen to be healthier than the competition as well. They sent me this starter set deluxe, which comes with a Holy shaker and then 14 individual servings of Holy Energy, Holy Hydration, and Holy Iced Tea. So you get a ton of awesome stuff for a great price. And if you want to get even better price, check out the first link in the description below. Use discount code SE5 to get €5 off your first order, or SE10 to get 10% off your entire basket. If you guys want to help continue to allow us to provide the amazing coverage of both Worlds and the offseason that you guys know and love, definitely check out Holy, buy some stuff. It would mean the world to us. Thanks.